Welcome to Value Vest Daily. Okay, you have got to hear this one. What if I told you that your favorite super comfy wool sneakers, you know the ones, the unofficial uniform of Silicon Valley, what if they suddenly became the next big play in AI infrastructure? It sounds completely insane, I know, but that is the wild story we're breaking down today. Allbirds, the shoe brand, has just pivoted away from footwear entirely, and in response, their stock price went absolutely vertical. We are going to unpack this incredible story. Let's dive right in.
But first, you know the drill, the important stuff. Just a reminder that this is not financial or tax advice. We're doing this deep dive for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal here is to really understand what happened, not to tell you where to put your money. So that brings us right to the core question of this whole explainer. It's the question that absolutely captivated Wall Street, and frankly, it's why we're here. Could a struggling shoe brand, a company that was pretty much on the brink of collapse, really transform itself into an AI powerhouse, basically overnight? I mean, it is a wild premise. Let's unpack it. Well, on April 15th, 2026, the market seemed to scream yes. The stock, ticker symbol BIRD, closed up an unbelievable 582% in a single day. And get this, at its peak during the day, it hit nearly $24 a share. That is a massive jump from its price right before the announcement, which was hovering around $2.50. This wasn't just a little bump. This was an absolute explosion.
Now, to really, truly appreciate the shockwave this sent through the market, we have to understand just how far Allbirds had fallen. You see, this pivot, it didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was born out of pure desperation. So let's rewind a bit and look at the story of a brand that was completely unraveling. The timeline here just shows you the insane speed of this rise and fall. Back in the 2010s, Allbirds was everywhere. They were unstoppable, the it shoe for the whole tech scene. This all led up to their 2021 IPO, where the company was valued at over $4 billion. But then reality hit. And it hit hard. Brutal competition, slowing demand, it just crushed the business. Fast forward to early 2026, and the stock had lost over 95% of its value. That led to the inevitable. They sold off the entire footwear business.
So how much did they get for that once iconic brand? Just $39 million. I mean, let that sink in for a second. A company that was once worth over $4 billion sold its core identity, its entire operation, to American Exchange Group for a mere $39 million. It really looked like that was the end of the story, until the pivot.
And this brings us to one of the most audacious, some would say craziest, corporate moves in recent memory. With the old business gone, the company basically announced it was burning the ships and sailing headfirst into the hottest sector on the planet, artificial intelligence. So how on earth did they plan to do it?
So what was the actual plan? Let's break it down. Step 1, sell the shoe business for that $39 million. Check. Step 2, go out and secure another $50 million in new financing. Now, step 3, this is the whole shebang. Use that cash to buy a ton of high-performance GPUs. You know, the super powerful chips that are the real engine behind AI. They're essential because they can run thousands of calculations at the same time, which is exactly what you need to train these massive AI models. And finally, step 4, relaunch the whole company as NewBird AI, a business that essentially rents out that computing power. They're trying to become a GPU as a service provider for all the developers who are stuck on these crazy long wait lists at the giant cloud companies. And when you dig into the details, you see just how total this transformation is. Okay, new name, new business, that's straightforward. The funding is that $50 million note. But what's really telling is their decision to drop their public benefit corporation status. I mean, Allbirds built its entire brand on sustainability and social responsibility. Shedding that status, that's a signal of a complete, ruthless break from the past. The only mission now is profit. The whole plan goes to a shareholder vote, and they're even offering a little special dividend as a sweetener to get it approved. This is not a side project, it's a full-on identity transplant. So with a plan this bold, you just knew the market reaction was going to be dramatic. What actually followed the announcement, though, was a trading frenzy of almost historic proportions. Just to put the scale of this frenzy into perspective for you, on an average day, maybe 5.7 million shares of Allbirds would get traded. On April 15th, over 288 million shares traded hands. That's more than 50 times the daily average. The volume was so insane that the stock exchange had to halt trading multiple times throughout the day. It really seemed like absolutely everyone wanted a piece of this thing. This story just caught fire on social media. I mean, platforms like X and StockTwits absolutely exploded. The memes were everywhere, and the whole vibe was perfectly captured by this quote, "From wool to GPUs overnight." It just nailed the absurdity and the excitement of the whole situation. The story was so wild and so perfectly timed for the AI hype cycle that it basically became its own marketing engine. So, what actually caused this 582% explosion? Well, it was really a perfect storm of two incredibly powerful forces. First, you have the market's absolutely insatiable appetite for anything and everything related to AI. In 2026, you can just attach AI to your company name and watch the stock move. Second, it was a classic brutal short squeeze. A lot of investors were betting against Allbirds, expecting it to go to zero. When the stock suddenly surged, they were forced to buy back shares at any price just to cover their losses. And that buying just pushed the price even higher and higher. Okay, so that's the what. That's what happened. But now we need to do our job and look past all the hype. Is there any real substance here? Or is this just another crazy meme stock rally? In this next section, we're going to dissect the arguments for and against NewBird AI. Let's start with the bull case. So, the argument for NewBird AI is that this could be a genuine 10x, maybe even 100x opportunity from its post-pivot lows. It's a moonshot for sure, there's no doubt about that. But the bulls believe there is a real, tangible opportunity here. Okay, so why could this crazy plan actually work? Well, first and foremost, the GPU shortage is very, very real. Demand for AI compute power is just exploding, and the big cloud providers have these super long wait lists. NewBird AI plans to target a specific niche, developers and smaller companies who need dedicated access to GPUs right now and are being completely underserved. Second, the stock has what's called a small float, which just means there's a limited number of shares available for trading. That can lead to these explosive price moves. Third, as we saw, the story itself is viral. And finally, even if they have just modest success, they could become an easy acquisition target for a much larger player looking to quickly add some compute capacity. All right, now for the other side of the coin. For every bull out there screaming 100x, there's a bear whispering, let's get a reality check. The skeptical viewpoint asks the obvious question, can a shoe company, realistically compete in one of the most difficult and capital-intensive industries in the entire world? And the arguments against this are powerful. First, the company has zero experience. Let's be real. They know how to make shoes, not run data centers or manage complex cloud operations. Second, that $50 million? In the world of AI infrastructure, that's peanuts. It's almost nothing. A single rack of high-end GPUs can cost millions of dollars. And finally, that convertible financing comes with a massive risk of shareholder dilution. Plus, corporate history is basically a graveyard of desperate pivots just like this one. Think Kodak trying to launch a cryptocurrency or all of Radio Shack's failed reinventions. So this is the core conflict, right? It's hype versus reality. On one side, you've got the bold dream, a company perfectly tapping into this insane AI demand with a viral story and a low float. But on the other hand, you have the bare reality. The capital is just a drop in the bucket, the team has zero experience, and this whole thing looks like a classic textbook desperation play. And the professional analyst community, they've been overwhelmingly on the side of the bears. Major financial media outlets, veteran investors, they've been using words like absurd, desperate, and ridiculous to describe this pivot. The consensus among the experts is that this is more a sign of late-stage AI hype than it is a credible business plan. So where does all of this leave us? How do we synthesize these two completely opposite viewpoints? Is NewBird AI a genuine moonshot, or is it just destined to be another cautionary tale, another meme stock bubble waiting to pop? I think the best way to look at it is through the lens of different investor types. For a short-term momentum trader, this is a dream scenario. The mix of a hot narrative and massive volatility, it's a jackpot. But for a long-term value investor, this is about as high risk as speculation gets. Until the company actually has GPUs up and running and is generating real revenue, it's just an unproven concept with huge, huge execution risk. For that type of investor, the logical move is to grab some popcorn and watch this one from the sidelines. And that leaves us with the final, ultimate question here. Is NewBird AI writing the first chapter of an incredible comeback story, positioning itself to become a brand new tech player by filling a critical gap in the market? Or is this simply a textbook example of a speculative hype bubble that is inevitably going to come crashing back down to earth?
Honestly, only time will tell.
We've laid out the bull case, we've laid out the bear case, we've looked at the history, the plan, and that insane market reaction. So now I want to know what you think. Is this the most audacious pivot you've ever seen, or is it a stroke of genius? Are you buying into NewBird AI, or are you staying far, far away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe, like, and share ValueVest Daily for daily learning opportunities before you put your money to work. And one more thing. Please put in a comment if you want us to deep dive into any specific high-risk/reward opportunities. We absolutely love digging into these stories. Thanks for watching and stay sharp out there.